This is me at the start of 2019. It's my very first video of the year, in fact. I look so happy, so full of life. Mine was a soul dreaming of that which was to come in the days ahead. This is what I look like now. I'm tired. My hip hurts. I look like I just escaped from Azkaban. What happened to me? 2019 happened to me. Heck of a year, and especially in Magic the Gathering. Presented here are the 5 worst, the absolute biggest mistakes made in Magic the Gathering for 2019. These are specifically things that were done in, or rather to, the game by Wizards of the Coast. So no, I am not including whatever cheating incident or other scandal you may have been hoping for. Let's talk instead the biggest corporate blunders. If you would prefer a more positive premise, please do take a moment to watch my companion video about the greatest things Wizards of the Coast did for Magic in 2019. Posted and available for your viewing pleasure and uplifting spirit. But this video will indeed focus on the negative. And by the way, before we even start, I just want to say now, Oko is not on this list. Yes, I know Oko was Broko and has turned into a bit of a meme at this point. We'll get your elk jokes out of the way because Oko, while absolutely a mistake, was far from one of the 5 worst of the year. Oko was an isolated aberration that was eventually fixed, and whose damage to the game was overall minimal. Oops, they made an overpowered mythic and it had to be banned everywhere. Got it. Now let's talk about some real disasters in Magic. Before I hit the main list of 5 biggest blunders, I have an honorable mention. Now, this next item is not just one singular mental misstep like some of the items on this list, but rather it is a wide array of blunders that went into the handling of, or more accurately, mishandling of, Brawl this year. Where to even start with Brawl? Okay, so Wizards of the Coast has this format, and it's not performing as they would like, which is a polite way for me to say that most Magic the Gathering players just aren't interested in standard commander that rotates. Not in paper, anyway. And Wizards of the Coast wants to promote and grow the format in 2019. That's fair. So what do? They bring it to Arena, and this is single-handedly the greatest move they could have made for the format, not to mention improving the overall quality and fun of Arena in the process. Brawl is just amazing on Arena, and the interest in playing Brawl, playing it on Arena, it's through the roof. So why didn't Brawl on Arena make my list of 5 greatest things to happen in Magic the Gathering in 2019? Because they only brought it to Arena 1 day a week. Wednesdays, which I might very well argue is the worst, most awkward day for anybody to just have free time to sit and grind out games of Brawl. People work. People have school, people have families and jobs to get to the next day. But even if Wednesday is your personal day off, to take a digital client whose main selling point is the convenience of being able to play Magic anytime you want from the comfort of your own home, and then restrict Brawl to only 1 day per week, it's the biggest of boneheaded blunders. And don't give me any of this "you can direct challenge someone" nonsense. The client didn't even have a friends list until about a day ago, and that friends list is still fairly feeble in terms of functionality, but that's a different item. To add insult to injury, Wizards then dropped, mid-December mind you, the idea of the Brawlidays, where you can now play Brawl during the other 6 days of the week, but you need to pay 10,000 gold or 2,000 gems, which translates to roughly $12.99. This came with 0 rewards except the possibility of earning 1 rare card, which could be redeemed anyway by anyone for 1 rare wild card. I would say it came with no incentive, no prize, nothing. You're just paying to be able to play Brawl, and you're paying a lot. Had Brawl just been brought to Arena and made available in a manner similar to Standard, with pay-to-enter events where there were prizes to be won and then just freestyle matches, if it had just been implemented in that way, then the addition of Brawl to Arena would probably have been one of, if not my very top pick for greatest thing to happen in Magic this year. Certainly it would have been the smartest move for Brawl. People would have played the heck out of it, and think of the advantages to Arena to have the ability to play Brawl in lieu of Standard during periods where Standard has its bad streak, which has certainly had a very bad one this year. It's win-win for everyone. And even though Arena Brawl is not 100% the same as Paper Brawl, it could have had a positive effect of growing interest in the paper format of Brawl as well. Instead, not only did actions like Brawl on Wednesdays only and the high-priced, low-prized Brawladays not spark much in the way of interest in Paper Brawl, Wizards of the Coast continued to blunder in Brawl in paper as well. Brawl decks were introduced this year, only Wizards of the Coast did not include Magic Arena redemption codes in them. The Brawl decks were also printed with exclusive cards that Commander, not Brawl players, wanted, such as Arcane Signet. Oh, and Standard viable exclusive cards like Corvald, Fey Cursed King. I mean, he's also turning out to be really good in Pioneer, but certainly a fantastic card for Standard, but only available in those Brawl decks. But Wizards of the Coast did not make those Brawl decks readily available, and they sent stores record low allocations of them. As a result, they sold out because Commander and Standard players wanted them, or perhaps they just got marked up to outrageous numbers. Either way, that was not good for Brawl players, it was not good for the Brawl format in paper, and it was a bad overall look for the game. Charging the equivalent of 10 booster packs to play a format for a month is, quite frankly, outrageous. Simply outrageous. Brawl should have been available 24/7 for free. Brawl on Arena is a great move. Brawl precon decks could have been as well, except they, I'm going to say it, they kind of sabotaged themselves in both paper and digital, and thus this honorable mention goes to the mishandling of Brawl in 2019. Speaking of Brawl precon deck pricing, number 5 on my list of Wizards' biggest mistakes in 2019 is deeply tied to product pricing, or the lack of transparency with it. In my evaluation, the elimination of MSRP on products was one of the year's biggest errors. Reducing transparency is always dangerous, and I've always maintained that if your employer or a large corporation or any large powerful entity does not want you to know something, then it's seldom to your benefit. In the case of eliminating MSRP, it has allowed Wizards of the Coast to sell products directly on Amazon at prices that intentionally undercut local game stores. A local game store can't compete with Amazon because Amazon sellers maybe are fine with only $1 in profit per box sold, and without MSRP, the undercutting price becomes the norm. And it allows Wizards of the Coast to deflect blame with issues such as what we saw with the Brawl decks. The public can perceive the markups as being the fault of greedy local game stores, rather than the fact Wizards goofed and underprinted a product that was designed with in-demand exclusive cards, and ended up sending most game stores only a few copies. Ultimately, removing MSRP was a move that gave a great deal of power to the biggest of stores and online sellers and took a great deal away from consumer and local game store alike. It's a great example of how something might benefit Wizards of the Coast in the short term, but long-term stability and consumer confidence is ultimately sacrificed. To build a better, more stable, and transparent market for 2020 and beyond, MSRP is something that, in my evaluation, needs to return. Now, number 4 on my list is quite possibly one of the worst Magic the Gathering products ever made, and that's extremely depressing, not just because it was such an outright disaster of a product, but also the fact that this is only number 4 on my list, that so many other things supersede, again, what I, the product guy, feel is one of the worst Magic products ever made. Well, that's maybe why I look like this. Number 4, it's the disastrous disappointment that was the Deluxe Edition. So I did an entire video about what an absolute failure of a product the Deluxe Edition was, and I won't just repeat myself here. You can check out that video and see the extensive details if you have not. But the short of it is that even as a product for whales, and again, I stress that it's okay to make a product for whales, but even as a product for whales, even as a product made for those with money to burn, this thing was still a total disappointment, and I'm gonna say ripoff. $449 for a handful of collector's packs and not much else. The Deluxe Edition offered non-exclusive cards like a non-foil Kenrith and foil Super Art Garrick, both of which could be found in collector's boosters, as well as, well, that's kinda it. Whereas products for whales of the past included things like over half a dozen unique Super Art Planeswalkers for $250, the Deluxe Edition offered cards available elsewhere, and only 2 of them, as well as such winning ideas as a uncut foil sheet and an Ultra Pro 9-pocket binder. The Deluxe Edition was, without a doubt, one of the worst products ever conceived and at an outrageous, laughable price. Ha! Even for whales, the Deluxe Edition was a ripoff, and considering all of the wonderful, blinged-out awesome that a super high-priced Magic the Gathering product could potentially offer, nearly $500 for a handful of standard packs and a non-foil buy-a-box promo, well, as the kids say, that ain't it, chef. Now, number 3 is a particularly depressing disaster and massive mistake, a major mishandling that may even have long-lasting effects in the years to come. After the brilliance of the War of the Spark trailer, the excitement and anticipation that was created with the Great Gatewatch finale looming, versus Nicol Bolas on the popular plane of Ravnica, and all of this came together for Wizards of the Coast to drop the ball on their own foot with the series of works by Greg Weisman. I have already reviewed the 2 War of the Spark novels, and if you have not done so, I urge you to sit down and give those videos a listen to fully grasp just how spectacularly they failed and why. I don't want to dwell on those details here. The sloppy writing, the terrible characterization, the absolute joke of a story that we were given. But I do want to talk about why it is worth such a high spot on my list of mistakes. Magic the Gathering's story matters. It's not just superfluous fluff serving only a fringe element of the player base. The value that an engaging and well-managed narrative serves a product like Magic the Gathering is immense. Look at the high importance other games place on stories and characters, where even games like Overwatch and World of Warcraft, and yes, that game of constant envy by Wizards of the Coast, even Hearthstone invests heavily into the care and maintenance of their story, of their characters, of their tales. Story matters. What happened this year with the complete dismantling of Magic's in-house story team, people who had dedicated themselves to the quality and consistency and care of Magic's story, only to be farmed out to external authors with a bullet list of points to hit, well, it was nothing short of a total lack of respect respect for everything Magic had, and I'm going to be honest here, very successfully built over the years. From an era of the greatest storytelling and characters ever to the decidedly bad prose of Greg Weisman. What's more, the corporate hand appeared to show itself in the intentional deconstruction of and even retconning towards the relationship of characters Nissa and Chandra. Now, I am not one to jump to conspiratorial accusations, but there is a wealth of evidence to suggest that this really was done so as not to offend China or upset the potential of Magic in the Chinese markets. And that evidence can come from sources like actually Greg Weisman, who issued his own statement on this very situation, where he essentially threw Wizards of the Coast under the bus, saying that it was under their direction that this was done. Even the apology from Wizards of the Coast over this issue was made not available in China. Again, not blocked by China, but Wizards didn't want China to see their apology/explanation, and so they blocked its being able to be viewed in that country. When taken all together, this shows a total disregard for a loyal and committed player base that was built on trust and mutual respect over the years. It's an enormous disaster. And speaking of deconstructing everything your company has worked to build over the years, number 2 turns from the Magic story to an aspect of the game that the very founder of Wizards of the Coast attributed to Magic's longevity and success over the years.
Doing the organized play program for Wizards of the Coast, setting up Magic as a competitive environment, an intellectual sport, to model it after a sports sort of competition with players that we would promote and having ratings, a ranking organization, qualifiers, the whole nine yards. I feel that was sort of our smartest moment.
That's right. 2019 was the year of dismantling organized play as it has existed and essentially ending Grand Prix coverage. Now, I am actually a fan of having high-level competitive events on Arena. I have supported Arena from day one. Last year, I named it the #1 greatest thing to happen in Magic the Gathering, and I am all for continued development and even emphasis on a digital Magic experience. That is vital, that is important, and I support it. But that development and emphasis does not mean that paper Magic needs to be diminished. We can have both. It's not one or the other. And holding events such as the Mythic Championships should not come at the price of GP coverage, which is an integral part of the game and of its success. In 2019, we all but stopped having GP coverage. We went from watching 40 weeks of GP coverage to 4 to 5 weeks, which is pretty much just put on by Channel Fireball now. This is a huge mistake, as Grand Prix coverage drove interest in and support for the Magic formats being played. If Standard and Draft is what sells packs, then there's less and less of a reason to play Standard, to practice Standard, to adhere to Standard and Draft if there's less and less of a competitive scene. Players would turn up at GPs to play in the main event in the hopes of making day 2, maybe getting a feature match. But when there is no match to feature, when coverage is all but gone, so too is incentive. And again, competitive Magic and interest in competitive Magic is vital for this game, even if you personally are just a casual player. It serves a vital role as an engine, as incentive, and I do not believe Magic should try to intentionally position itself as kitchen table and arena only. In addition, this was the year of constant overhauls and reorganization of organized play, and this reorganization has led, in my evaluation, to one of the most convoluted and difficult to follow systems for competing professionally in Magic. We have gone from a clear, fairly straightforward system to I feel a mess where the average player not only doesn't see the path to the Pro Tour, they also aren't going to see the reasons or incentives for trying to get there. And I fear this may be by design, and if so, that speaks deeply to a major misunderstanding the company has for its own product and competitive process. And either way, it's been a huge hit for competitive Magic this year, and I hope 2020 sees the return of regular GP coverage and a clear, streamlined system where every player can feel that they have a chance and a reason to show up, play in a Grand Prix or MCQ event, and try and make it to the Pro Tour, even if that reason is just a chance at a feature match and being on camera. So out of all of this, and so much more, what has been the biggest mistake of 2019 in Magic the Gathering? Well, it pains me to say this, especially given what made the top of last year's list of greatest things to happen in the game, but in 2019, the biggest blunder in all of Magic the Gathering has been the mismanagement of Magic Arena. Magic Arena has been and continues to be an enormous success, but the way in which Wizards of the Coast has reacted to that success this year has been nothing short of detrimental. First and foremost, if you exclude monetized things like cosmetics and the Mastery Pass, pets, there were zero, I repeat, zero new features brought to the game for about 11 and a half months of this year. Let's discuss. About halfway through December 2019, Magic Arena rolled out its first and only new features to the system for the entire year. An incredibly basic and lackluster friends list, and a few extremely minor updates to the deck builder. I honestly believe these were given to us so as to prevent critics such as myself from declaring that zero new features were added in 2019. But seriously, make the list. Am I forgetting something? If I am, it must be small. But if you exclude new formats and you exclude cosmetics, things like pets, things that are monetized like that, has there been a single new feature added to Arena besides that 11th hour, quite literally, addition of a watered down friends list? And no, enabling a new format like Brawl doesn't count. And even if it did, they only enabled it one day a week, but we're past talking about Brawl. When you have an explosive and successful game like Magic Arena, you need to invest heavily into developing it further. More features, more options, improvements to software and graphics and quality and ease of use. Instead, Wizards of the Coast went hog wild and monetized every conceivable aspect of the game, and in return offered absolutely nothing other than what we already had at the start of the year. You know, back in the year 2000, America Online's Instant Messenger used to have something like 30 million users. And today, in 2019, even tiny games from tiny developers are able to offer fully functioning friends lists. But this apparently was something that resources could not be allocated to, as we had pets to create, sleeves to program, cosmetics to sell. Meanwhile, Arena doesn't even have draft. Not true human draft, it just has bot drafting, which in itself doesn't work right, as anyone who has drafted Throne of Eldraine can tell you. Despite being programmed on Unity, Arena is still only available on PC. What's more, 2019 was the year of software issues galore on Arena. There are tons of problems with things like frame rate, screen resolution issues, and non-16:9 aspect ratios, and it didn't even have these problems at the beginning of 2019. Disconnects went way up this year, stability went way down. And while yes, we did eventually get that friends list, it barely works as one. It's missing so much. It doesn't let you really do anything besides see if your friends are online or send them direct challenges. You can't even see if they're busy, if they're playing, or what they're playing. It really just feels like the direct challenge with extra steps. I love Magic Arena. I don't want to just leave Arena and log into Legends of Runeterra. I mean, I do want to log into Legends of Runeterra because it looks awesome and I'm beyond excited for it next year. But But I want to see Arena compete. I want to see it not just aim to make the most short-term money through the most over-the-top excessive monetization. I want to see Arena actually grow, put down roots, become a foundation of the Magic digital experience. And that means it needs to add new features. It needs to develop itself beyond what it already is. It needs to improve. I want to see Magic Arena make the top of my best of the year list again, and be nowhere near the top of my list of the worst. But of course, that is just my list and my evaluation. Now I want to hear from you. What do you feel were the biggest mistakes made by Wizards of the Coast to the game of Magic the Gathering this year, and why? Let me know in the comments below, and please take a moment to check out the companion video that is rolling in the joy of the greatest things to happen in Magic the Gathering this year. It was a fantastic year as well, so be sure to check out that video right here. And this program was made possible thanks to a sponsorship from Card Kingdom, as well as the Patreon support of viewers such as you. So thank you.